Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel GMB SHOW. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Paul Sinha was left red-faced during Thursday's installment of The Chase as he was beaten by all four contestants, who walked away with an equal share of £20,000. Bradley Walsh greeted four new hopefuls eager to leave the show with some winnings. The first to face Paul Sinha was Neil. The 50-year-old pensions consultant got off to a brilliant start, correctly answering 8 questions in the Cash Builder. Despite the centerman tempting him with a lower offer of £3,000, Neil stuck to his original amount and made it to the final chase. Next up was Tim, a fish farmer from Derbyshire. Despite prematurely answering before Bradley finished the question, the 60-year-old brought £4,000 to the table, reports the Express. Like his teammate Neil, Tim chose the middle offer and became the second contestant to make it to the final chase. The third player to challenge the centerman was 23-year-old Sally. The assistant accountant answered 4 questions correctly and followed her teammate's lead, taking the middle offer into the head-to-head. Even though Paul was just one step behind her, Sally kept her cool and joined Neil and Tim in the final chase. The last contestant was Helen, who also answered 4 questions correctly in the Cash Builder. Refusing to take the minus offer, Helen stuck with her initial earnings. The 35-year-old had no trouble making it to the final chase, which resulted in a full house against the centerman. In the final chase, the team answered 17 questions correctly. Despite Bradley's doubts that they were a few answers short, it was up to Paul to catch them. However, the chaser seemed to have a hard time during the final chase, getting several questions wrong. Despite the team's successful pushbacks, the centerman still had 5 questions left when he ran out of time. This resulted in each team member pocketing £5,000. After his defeat, Bradley turned to Paul, who confessed that it wasn't his best performance. "Not my best performance, but you played really well. You deserved everything, so congratulations," he admitted. Paul Sinha had never liked the silence that came after the final chase. The lights above the ITV set cooled down too quickly, shadows crawling across the studio floor like shy cats, while the contestants gathered near Bradley Walsh with that mix of awe and relief that only came from surviving a quiz showdown. This time, though, Paul felt the silence bite deeper than usual. He had lost. Not a nail-biting split-second mistake. Not a heroic battle where he'd been outpaced by a team of unstoppable quizzers. It was, simply, a bad day. Missed questions on topics he usually devoured. Classical composers, a current affairs slip, a brain fog on a common sporting term that left Bradley blinking in disbelief. The contestants, a young teacher, a dad of 3, and a softly spoken librarian, had bagged £75,000 between them. And Paul, the formidable centerman, had been the one who let it happen. He kept his smile fixed as Bradley clapped the contestants on the back, calling it one of the greatest wins we've seen in a while. The audience roared. The team hugged, tears glinting in the lights as the cameras rolled on their life-changing victory. But Paul's eyes flickered to the floor. Inside, it stung more than he wanted to admit. Backstage, the green room was unusually quiet. Paul sat down, a bottle of water in one hand, phone in the other. The gentle hum of the vending machine the only soundtrack. He could hear his own heartbeat, a reminder that for all his confidence, he was as human as the players who faced him. His phone was already filling with notifications. Wow, Paul lost big today. Never thought I'd see the centerman slip like that. Hope he's okay. Everyone has off days. Paul scrolled through them, feeling the warmth of supportive fans, but also the sting of his own disappointment. He had never claimed perfection, but pride was woven into every correct answer he delivered on that podium. That pride now felt like a loose thread, threatening to unravel. He sighed, adjusting his glasses, and set the phone down. Bradley popped his head in, giving him a small, understanding nod. "Hey, mate," Bradley said. "They were good. Don't beat yourself up." Paul forced a half-smile, nodding. "I know, Brad. It just wasn't my best performance." Later that evening, Paul found himself in his favorite quiet cafe, a notebook open in front of him, scribbles of quiz topics across the pages. It was his ritual after every filming block: review, learn, reset. But this time, the ink seemed heavier. The cafe owner, a kindly woman with bright eyes, placed a cup of chamomile tea in front of him. "Rough day?" she asked gently. Paul looked up, blinking away the heaviness. "You could say that." "You're allowed a bad day, Paul," she said, giving his shoulder a light pat before disappearing into the kitchen. Paul stared into the tea, the steam curling like question marks in the air. He realized with quiet clarity that he needed to say something, to himself, to the viewers, to the thousands of quizzers who looked up to him and wondered what it felt like to lose so publicly. He pulled out his phone and opened X, formerly Twitter. @PaulSinha. "Not my best performance today. No excuses. Just a day where the questions didn't fall kindly and the contestants were excellent. I'm human, and days like these remind me to keep learning. Congratulations to the team. You were brilliant. #TheChase. The message was short, but it lifted a weight off his shoulders. Almost immediately, responses flooded in. "Respect, Paul. We all have off days. You're still the GOAT. Your honesty is why we love you. You're still an inspiration." They were a strong team, and you were gracious. That's what matters. For a moment, Paul allowed himself a soft smile. The next morning, the tabloids ran with the story. "The Sinnerman humbled. Paul Sinha's rare loss shocks fans." "Paul Sinha issues statement after costly slip-up on the chase." Viewers praise Paul Sinha's grace after defeat. Paul's manager rang him up mid-morning, chuckling. "If it's any comfort, you're trending higher than a football transfer scandal." "It's not comforting, but I suppose it's something," Paul replied, his dry humor intact even as the sting of defeat lingered. That evening, Paul returned to his quiz study routine, pulling out old quiz books and tuning in to niche podcasts. He answered questions out loud, pacing his living room, the hunger to improve returning with each correct answer. He messaged Ann Hegarty, "Fancy a quiz battle this weekend? Need to get the engine running." Ann replied almost instantly, "I'm in, but don't think I'll go easy on you." Paul chuckled. If there was one thing he knew about the world of quizzing, it was that you were only as good as you're willing to keep going, keep learning, keep laughing, even on your worst days. A week later, Paul was back on set, standing at the Chasers' podium, the lights bright, the hum of the audience returning like a familiar heartbeat. Bradley flashed him a thumbs up from the host's podium. "How are you feeling today, Paul?" Bradley asked before the cameras rolled. Paul adjusted his glasses, a glint of determination in his eyes. "Better, Bradley. Every day is a school day." Bradley grinned. "That's the spirit." As the theme music rolled, Paul felt something shift inside him. The loss, while bitter, had reminded him that even legends stumble. It's how they stand back up that mattered. And as the first question was read, Paul buzzed in immediately, answering correctly without hesitation, a quiet smile playing on his lips. Because the Sinnerman was back, and he was ready to chase again.